righty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast. Continuing to pick apart as we do of Raw and SmackDown. A little bit far out for our first PLE of the year, I guess, which would be Saturday Night Main Event technically, but obviously Royal Rumble is at the end of on January 31st, so there's a lot of things that could happen in the next month-ish. So we're on the precipice of obviously John Cena losing to Gunther at Saturday Night's Main Event. Obviously, there was an exuberant amount of pissed off fans, even though in a way, this is what John Cena chose. And this is how John Cena wanted to go out, putting over someone. And I think Gunther, now that I'm kind of looking at how the match was, how the reactions were, I think there's more hatred, or there's basically going to be more hatred for Gunther than there would have been LA Knight. So I feel like if LA Knight won, I don't feel like it would do too much for his character, just because Gunther seems to be the modern day legend killer as it was, and so obviously we have AJ Styles retiring, next year. Brock Lesnar probably won't be too far behind. So I feel like there's a lot of legends for Gunther to stack up. So I think after encompassing all of that and kind of putting that into the decision of it all, I think it was a good decision. I know we obviously were kind of mulling over it the last couple weeks, knowing that this was going to happen. But we got it, and like I said, sometimes we want what we want, and sometimes we get what they know we want, and this is how it plays out. So I honestly think, obviously this was John Cena's decision, so like I don't say this was WWE creative, so don't get my adulation twisted. So
Right.
creative still sucks, guys. But obviously, it was a good segment. Obviously, Gunther comes out and basically just razzes the crowd. I mean, like, just absolutely goes out and just absolutely pisses the fans off. And well done. Like, if you are on the heel side of wrestling, and this is how you get the reaction, it's a good reaction. Like
Yeah,
it's a bad reaction, but as wrestling goes, whether you're a good guy or a bad guy, as long as they make you feel something, right?
yep. As
And
long as
and
there's a
both
response, you feel something. Yep.
and so it's definitely it's just good stuff, man. Like it's going to continue to build Gunther. I think Gunther is, on his way to, he's already having a Hall of Fame level career, just in these, 4, 5, 6 years that he's been with WWE. So, I mean, that just means there's more to come for him. And I think after how this went down, I feel like that was the John Cena nod. So, I think there's good things for Gunther to come. And so basically last week we obviously had, or the week prior, we basically kind of had this whole bit of, the Usos kind of getting back together, being a tag team versus the individual stuff, which honestly it was a foregone conclusion. I think Jimmy was basically up to his neck in deep water without having his brother with him, just because they thrived together, but kind of the big Jim thing, really wasn't really over. And like obviously, like he helped out Jay, he helped out Roman and stuff. So like he did the role that he was given,
Right.
and and he he kept it interesting enough. And obviously now I'm glad to see the Usos back together, and because I feel like we have a lot of up and coming tag teams, and when you start getting back to having some good veteran core tag teams, that will just amplify the tag team division, and so that's good. it's good for the future just because, these guys have been around for quite some time. So it's good for the business and not good for New Day. Um,
Nope.
New Day has been on such a decline. Um,
That
but
only means their come up should be epic. And I think they've got one or two more rise in this, in this portion of their contracts. Um, you know, I wouldn't mind Xavier Woods getting a couple singles runs uh with some championships. I think
yeah,
Kofi has done a lot, and I wonder if Kofi is a Grand Slam champion.
I don't think he's held. I don't. Do they define it as holding both title championships or just a championship?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna look. Because he's only
I
held one. Um,
I know he's had.
he's a
I know he
he's
was a
a
U.S.
triple
I know. Yeah.
he's a triple crown, but he's not and 20th overall Grand Slam under the current format. So he's a Grand Slam champion. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and obviously his title run was shoddy at best, but it was a good story, right?
yeah.
But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that yeah, I mean, Kofi's been around at least 5 to 8 years before the New Day became a thing. So
Hmm.
I still think it was funny just to sidetrack, but like when you do remember when the video's been all over the place, but like when they're all like Triple H and all them are talking in the ring and Kofi's accent goes away.
Oh yeah, yeah. Aren't you supposed to be Jamaican?
Yeah, so we basically have had this, in the women's tag team division, it's starting to heat up, and I like it. Obviously, you have the Kabuki Warriors being the current champions, and man, so basically, Rhea and Io are gonna have a tag team match come January 5th, the kickoff for the season 2 of Raw on Netflix, and man, it's very interesting that they're kind of getting another shot at him,
Yeah.
but I mean that's kind of how WWE works. But so Maxine Dupree has been on this massive amount of training and really ring IQ, getting some training with Natalia in the dungeon, and it's been crazy to watch how talented she is in the ring. The amount of the submissions, the counters. I mean, she looks 10,000 times better than she ever did, in which I think was a great thing, obviously, to have her beat Becky Lynch. Obviously, I mean, she's basically was going to be the chosen one, anyways, because Becky went on to War Games and needed that other feud to go without a title. Because we're gonna see a Becky Lynch AJ Lee match at some point.
Yeah.
And it needs to happen while the fire's hot, though. Because really AJ hasn't really done like she basically helped kind of distract Becky from asking Dupree to win the IC title, but like other than that, she's been pretty much a mute point. And other than the comments of Braun Breaker, she really hasn't been involved in really anything. And I get it; she's on a Legends contract. I don't. She's definitely not coming back full time. That's not going to be a thing. But like, I want them to really put some spice on this with her and Becky, and I want them
Hmm.
to, I feel like, the kickoff to season 2 of Raw on Netflix, I feel like is probably going to be that spot. Um, I feel like it just they need to do because they're going to do it on a PLE or a big important event. So
Right.
like it's you can't wait till Saturday Night Main Event. That's literally a month away. and you can't wait to the Royal Rumble because that's another week away. So I feel like the Netflix premieres it should be.
So
Um,
I wonder if they'll run it back. So like Becky and AJ Lee go at it and it doesn't get cleared up, and then they're both either in the Royal Rumble or they have like a match at the Royal Rumble or something along those lines. You're muted.
Crap. But yeah. So I just think that they need to pull the trigger on it.
Yep.
And I feel like the kickoff would be the ideal spot.
Yep.
But yeah. So Maxine defeats Ivy Nile in a honestly phenomenal match. I honestly, it's we haven't seen uh American Made really, with the exception of Ivy Nile a couple weeks ago in some little backstage segment, and then last week we kind of seen him walking with with Ivy Nile, but like the Creed brothers, we haven't seen them in months and months and months, and I don't even know what the reason was. I never heard anything. There was no injury, anything. There was nothing. They just disappeared off the face of the earth for the past probably 4 or 5 months, and I don't know what the rhyme or reason was. It you know because I
Maybe
feel
it's
like
just a maybe it's just a crowded creative cycle right now, and it's best not to have them on TV. Um, I think the Creed brothers and New Day could be a very interesting mid card story. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I think that would be a good utilization of both of those teams. Just just to keep them on TV, and then put Alpha Academy in that. So it's like, you got those six people are doing something, plus Grayson Waller with his antics.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, and like they're a great tag team. So I don't know why. Like, I mean, really, the men's tag team division is kind of really fizzled. I mean, you haven't seen the Street Profits in a couple, probably at least a month or so. You said the Creeds for 4 months, like, and then, like I think like you said, it was just there's just so much creative going on right now that the tag team division, at least on the men's side, on both Raw and SmackDown, honestly, have just kind of taken a back seat.
yeah,
Because obviously, you had the War Game stuff in November. You had survive. You had that. Then you had Saturday Night Main Event, and they were all worried about John Cena stuff and all that tournament. And so I think it just kind of got pushed to the back burner, which it happens.
yeah,
You only really get, you know, 2 hours of 2 hours and like 15-20 minutes of a show to pack every important story into it. So, but I hope, hope moving into the new year, now that we're done with the John Cena stuff, I don't think AJ will have a, retirement tour like John Cena had. Maybe they will. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so we'll kind of see where that goes. But so at the week prior, obviously Braun Breaker cut legitimately. He's cut his last two promos have been honestly the best promos probably of the year. And so we finally got a response from CM Punk, and comes out and basically just gives the CM Punk speech, and I thought it wasn't bad, but I kind of agree with Braun Breaker is that I want to see 2011 CM Punk, because really, I mean, Braun Breaker destroyed this chat off, whatever you want to call it, you know,
yeah.
the battle.
You
And
know, yeah, but that's kind of like a trope or a recipe that WWE uses.
yeah,
They've got to make, the heel look unstoppable so the baby face can get over, especially as a champion. And then the baby face, he doesn't cut the best of promos because we've seen, CM Punk eviscerate people.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, so I think it's just one of those recipes where it's like CM Punk, you tone it down. Braun Breaker, we've got some creative for you. You say it just like this, it'll be fine. Especially if Paul Heyman is behind, you
Yeah.
know, some of the promos. Yeah, it's gonna work like that. So it's going to be a good match. It's leading up to be an interesting story to see if Braun Breaker can, take that from CM Punk. I would not be surprised if it does happen. And then you have, if and when Seth Rollins comes back into the picture, you've got Breaker versus Rollins, and you know, it goes that route. Um, I think WWE could go with some younger champions.
Yeah.
I would not mind like a complete dissension between all the members of the Vision and having even Bronson Reed take that championship off of Braun Breaker as opposed to anybody else.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see why not.
And I think Braun Breaker's a viable candidate for that, honestly. Like, because the level that it's gotten to right now between CM Punk and Braun Breaker is pretty comparable heat between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. And I think that Braun Breaker's done a great job just in the last, you know, couple months to really build this true heat and disdain for each other between him and CM Punk. And so like I think it's great. I really do hope that Braun Breaker wins to basically validate his relevancy and and to basically step in parallel to what his dad and his uncle did and to kind of just really release that Steiner in him because
Mhm.
yes you're Braun Breaker and obviously your dad and your uncle both were under their actual name essentially but I think like we're starting to see that Steiner brutality really 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 come out. Like yeah, the spears and stuff have been great the last couple years, but I feel like now that he's tagging it along with his mic skills and he's not playing a background character to Seth Rollins, and now that he's kind of the forefront of the Vision, and I don't think Bronson Reed really cares about being a background character, um, just because he's the enforcer of the Vision, right? I mean, he's the guy when you need to go tsunami a guy through a car. Yeah, he got you.
Yep.
So, but so we finally got a match. So we had Stephanie Vaquer versus Raquel Rodriguez, and I thought this if they would have left this match as it was and just had it be a good match and not really have any tomfoolery go on, I would have been okay with it. I would have been even okay if Raquel even won. But
Mhm.
obviously that didn't happen. We had stupid living Hall of Famer Brie Bella or Nikki Bella like come out and just interrupt everything, and I don't like her being back. Like yeah, she's fantastic to look at, but as far as like the current storylines and the current like roster and the a little bit younger presence in on the roster, I just I don't see a need for Nikki Bella. I mean, I would rather see AJ Lee more than I would rather see Nikki Bella. Like
um,
because she spent the bulk of her illustrious return taking L's, and I get that's kind of a thing where you have the younger talent get put over by the older talent, and like that's the that's the recipe of all recipes. It happens,
right.
but like just don't need her right now. Like I
There's definitely are um let's go ahead, make it a triple threat, and finally get Nikki Bella out of this championship picture, and let's have Nikki Bella like have some one-off matches to like enhance some newer talent. coming up from NXT. Hell, even have her go to NXT. There's plenty of story, and she has plenty of in-ring life left in her. So let's do something worthwhile. But this is not it, Chief.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
mean,
let's get her out of that.
well, and she technically, they're really only in the business for like 10 years or so, which was really, like, I was really surprised they put them in the Hall of Fame. Like,
Uh,
I mean, maybe it was because she retired or whatever, because of all the neck injury or whatever, and they decided to do it. But like, and maybe they thought she'd never come back, so maybe that's why they did it. But I definitely think bringing her back does really not do much. I mean, it's weird nowadays to have people put in the Hall of Fame and they're still wrestling. Like, I mean, because that's what they did with Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio was inducted like what 3 years ago or something.
mhm.
Like, and so like, it's just weird of them having, like, I feel like the Hall of Famers would be more better suited for people that aren't wrestling anymore, and like, the plethora of legends we have. Unless they're just running out of people they want to actually pick, but so we get a match between Logan Paul and Rey Mysterio, and the skinny of it is that what I've said before is that the masked character was helping out Logan Paul, not the Vision. And so
Mhm.
this is I was legitimately I was literally watching this live because of all the videos I've watched, and what actually makes really sense is that this person is helping out Logan Paul. So I was waiting for the masked man in this match, literally for like probably 10 minutes of this fight. I'm like, all right, when's the masked guy going to come out? Because this fits the bill of him helping out Logan Paul. And obviously he does come out, and the mask was not as masky um as past times where you could basically see their eyes and that was about it. And so Michael Cole's out there saying like, oh, or no, Monday Night, I don't know, whoever commentating, but basically like, oh, he's white, okay, well, that and then he helps him out, and then runs over the barricade and up to the thing, and then it's revealed as Austin Theory, which is pretty much everyone predicted.
Right.
Now, I think that there's more to this angle than they're leading on. I feel like there might be
Mm.
more than one, and this might be, the start of a Logan Paul faction. And I feel like there might be a third because a lot of people notice the different statures, literally side by side, um, in the different times the masked person has showed up. Because, like I said, obviously people are like, "Oh, it's Seth Rollins." Like, no, he's injured legitimately, and anybody can do anybody's move. So, like, take the move out of your thought process of how it's going to happen. But
Right.
and so obviously we get the you know we finally get the reveal, and it was and I will say though is that Austin Theory like shaved his head, kind of trimmed up the goatee. He does look pretty bad. He looks like a
Mhm.
mean mother, and,
Yep.
and I think that, like, yes, everybody theorized it was Austin Theory, and yes, obviously it came to fruition, but seeing it in real time and like seeing the reveal and everything, and how absolutely brutal uh, Austin Theory looks, like he looks like a whole different person with no hair, no anything, just a black sweatshirt and black pants, like.
Yeah.
So
Just yeah.
now I don't. And now, if this is not part of like, and there's not another one, to be like a Logan Paul faction, this is going to be an absolute dud because two people doesn't do shit, and there needs to be a third, and I hope and because otherwise, like I said, there's only two of them. And it's just Austin Theory, and that was it, and that's all. That's the whole mass thing, and that was it, and it's done. That's stupid.
Yeah.
So I feel like there has to be a third. And in my walking theory, which I think a lot of people are, is that it might be like a Montez Ford. And
Mm.
people have been egging on for a long time about the cracks in the Street Profits and the want for a singles run for Montez Ford, just because he was always the star of the group. Um, and so you know, I hope there's a third one, or there's a second masked person, because otherwise none of this makes sense. Um,
Yeah. You're right.
so SmackDown, we get Damian Priest coming out, and him and Aleister Black basically brawl. All in all, Damian Priest gets put through a table, and Zelina Vega and Aleister Black obviously are actually a real life couple, actually a real life married couple. But so I hope that there's something to this. I feel like this is just kind of replacing Seth, Becky, AJ, CM Punk, even though obviously Rhea and Damian aren't a couple. Um, but I feel like this is just kind of a do-over, another rendering, having mixed tag. I believe they're supposed to have. Did they already have that mixed tag match?
Yeah, they have. Yep.
Okay.
And then it was the Terror Twins that won that mixed tag with Rhea pinning Zelina. So yeah, you know what, I don't think they'll run it back like that, but I think that they'll do something. They've got to do something. I don't think it's over, and I don't want it to end the way that it is. It has to be like it has to be something notable that puts one person better than the other, or they need like an interference or something to lead one of them into a different direction with the story. So I don't think it's over. Yeah, I just don't think it's over.
I don't know if it'll involve, Zelina and Rhea. Obviously, it makes more sense to do that, but I
Hmm.
don't know how they're going to truly play it out to have another mixed tag, or maybe we have a mixed tag street fight, maybe to get some kind of definitive, or we get a second match, and then maybe Alistair won, and then maybe the third match leads us to something more intense, like maybe a mixed tag street fight, which I don't think has ever happened. Um, and so maybe something of that angle, but yeah, it's there. I think they'll do something with it.
Yeah.
Now, so we get Nia Jax and Lash Legend versus the current tag team champions, the Kabuki Warriors, in a non-title match, as it were, because about 90% of the non-title matches, someone always ends up winning. But so Nash and Lash Legends literally destroy the Kabuki Warriors. Like, it was a good match, but it was not a good match up.
Yeah.
um, because Nia's a monster, Lash is an absolute beast. Um, I definitely think people are overlooking Lash because she's kind of a newbie, but like, she ain't showing that she's a newbie.
No, she isn't.
And
She's doing, she's really has picked up from where she first was in NXT. Like her first couple of matches were like, oh goodness, you're gonna have to put in some extra work. And whatever she's done over you know, her stay in NXT to where she is now, she looks very good in the ring.
the sad thing is I don't want to bring this up again, but like, she's way more polished in her time frame than Jade Cargill was. Okay? I just want
Yeah.
to throw that shade because, you know, Jade Cargill came in as this megastar and just this massive talented art, professional wrestler, and we didn't see that for the first 6-8 months. But anyways, I digress. I just wanted to drop that gem, just because I want to give Lasher flowers that she's done an absolute bombshell job in her first brief. She's only been in the business for not that long. She wasn't even in NXT really too long, or
Yeah.
a massive presence on NXT. So like, you got to give respect where respect is due.
Mhm. You're
Um,
right.
so so basically, after they win, obviously we get Charlotte and Alexa Bliss coming out and starting a whole ruckus, and what basically leads us to that, Alexa and Charlotte are supposed to have a match against the Kabuki Warriors at the season premiere of Raw on Netflix. And this is obviously going to be a triple threat. Like, there's no other way to cut this. Like, there's no other way to deduce this when you have another team also be the other, the champions. So they're entitled to a championship match. That's how WWE works. That's how the recipe is written. And this is what it's going to lead to. It's going to be a triple threat. I mean, they have to stack the season premiere. That there's nothing else for them to do but stack it.
They've got to show the world that they are, you know,
Yeah,
improving the product, especially for Netflix, especially for ESPN. Um, yeah,
yeah, and so just a sidebar, but like, so obviously this past weekend, they had the double taping here in Grand Rapids at Van Andel Arena. I'm not going to
mhm,
dive into the actual deets or any of the rumor crap. I'm not going to get that. But the one thing I wanted to say, though, is that I actually talked to, so I brought a couple workers, and so I got to go, at the back of the building, whatever, drop them off. And me and him were talking because obviously I knew they were, staffers. And so the the thing about them not selling out tickets or whatever it be, he's like that's BS. He's like, don't pay attention to everything online because it is very skewed. He's like, he literally flat out, he's like, dude, we're selling out every night. Like, don't dig to too much of the rumor mills. And this is from a direct WWE staff member. So I
right.
just want to make that abundantly clear, is that not everything of these YouTubers and these insiders, these other podcasters make, it's not always on the up and up. So
Right.
just
And
watch the
and
product, get what you
yeah,
get, what you get,
and
and
we also have, an inside man with Tim being at those tapings, and he could, easily verify, was it sold out, how was the crowd, what were they chanting,
yeah,
how was it sitting through 4 hours of WWE product, what did they make people shift seats in between the two tapings,
yeah,
there's so many
yeah,
things that we can ask. Unfortunately, Tim's out with a headache, so hopefully, he feels better next week, and yeah, we'll
yeah,
get all the
and
details.
yeah, and I dropped off another buddy and his wife to the show too. So like, and so I, it, like those photos that people take, like, oh, it's not sold out. Those are literally before the show starts, guys. Like, because that's the hard cam side, and so obviously it's going to be a little bit less because it's the hard cam side. But like, it fills out. I've been to plenty of shows. Tim, way more shows than all of us combined, and so we'll talk to him next week. If he's feeling better, and we'll let him speak straight from the cow's mouth of how things go. So,
Right.
like I said, just a sidebar: don't believe everything that you read online. Anywho, so we have kind of a weird mid card in the women's division. Um, so Julia faced off against Alba Fire, which this is the middest of mid card match, and I don't know what they're going to do with Julia, because she came out the gate strong, won a singles gold before Stephanie Vaquer, and then they completely did nothing with it, right? And then obviously, you know, since Stephanie Becerra's won, you know, the women's championship and everything, like they've been like presenting her like almost weekly. You know, she's having matches, segments. They're really investing in her, and I think they gauged the crowd reaction to Julia's presence in the WWE, you know, the main roster, and they gauged the presence of Stephanie Becerra. And, you know, what's good for business right now is Stephanie Becerra. And I'm not downplaying Julia's talent or presence or anything like that. It's just they make the decisions based on, you know, the fan reaction essentially.
Yeah.
So, you know, you know, and I don't doubt that Julie is going to have a fulfilling career in WWE. I don't doubt that one bit. It's just right now she's kind of just running through the mid card, and it happens.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's WWE for you. Like I'd rather be on the mid card than no card, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather be
Definitely.
performing than sitting in catering eating Cheetos. You know, like so
Mhm.
like I you know, you take what's given to you, and if this is the juncture it's at right now, then that's just what it be. But you know, like we said, 2 hours and 20 minutes of a show, guys. What do you do with it? So, and that's including commercial breaks, and that's you know, so like that's encompassing every aspect of the show. So like, it's a lot to get to, and I wish they did just a straight up 3 hours, because I feel like then they could pack more. But at the same token, is that like when they walk the tightrope between like two and a, I feel like 2.5, but you
Mhm.
know, 2 hours 30, maybe 2:40, I feel like would be sufficient. But they basically run about 2:20 usually on most shows. But so we get Nick Aldis in the ring with Cody Rhodes, and just basically telling him that if he lays a hand on Drew McIntyre, he'll relinquish the title. And in the Paul Heyman loophole to this is that if Drew McIntyre touches him first, that doesn't mean anything. So, like sometimes you have to listen to the wording. You know, but basically they're gonna have, you know, their match, whatever, and I don't even know when they're actually having their match. It hasn't really said anything. It just says
It's
have a championship match, but it doesn't really say,
yeah.
you know, much about when it's gonna happen. Um, Maybe it's the New Year SmackDown or something. Um, Always a possibility, but we don't know right now. So last week we had, the week before we had Tommaso Ciampa versus Ilya Dragunov versus Carmelo Hayes, and basically the match was interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa, and so we got this week basically a DIY versus Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov match. And I think it's cool that Carmelo's moving in a different direction than dealing with the Miz.
Oh
And
yeah.
again he's pretty much in the mid card, which is fine. Like I said, mid card over no card. And so I think that, you know, this pairing, obviously it's a temporary pairing between Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov, but like I like that there's, you know, basically guys I watched in NXT now kind of doing their thing on the main roster, and obviously Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov get the win, and I thought it was a cool ending because it was, you know, Ilya did, you know, they basically kind of exchanged kind of finishers at the end, and Ilya obviously did his H bomb and then basically pulled up. I don't know if it was Ciampa or Gargano, or I guess it was Tommaso Ciampa, but and then basically giving the nod to Carmelo Hayes to basically get his just deserved revenge on
Mhm.
Tommaso Ciampa by hitting them with the nothing but net. So I thought that was a cool match. I thought it didn't have any tomfoolery, guys. These are the matches I like. They're just straight up matches, definitive winners, definitive losers. Life goes on, and obviously we don't get a ton of that. But I'm good, man. I'm good with it. I now the thing that I'm gonna get to now is the main event of SmackDown, and it was the Wyatt Six, Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy versus JC Mateo and Tonaloa. And this title reign could not have been has been more than absolute nothing. Now, the Wyatt Six won those titles back on July 11th. Mind you, we're in December, by the way.
Right.
And they've had 3 title defenses. Oh, sorry. They won the titles, and they had another match, and they didn't have anything. Like, they literally went from July to, like, October to have a title defense, and then from October to December now. In this match, and this wasn't even, like, a definitive, like, win or loss. It was a no contest because the whole group just brawled.
Right.
Like, how are you going to have, you know, and I get it, why they did it, but it's like, what's the point of going for tag matches when you have 2 factions ringside? I mean, you're just asking for a mess. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing with it. I mean, at least Dragon Lee and AJ Styles are at least having, you know, consistent matchings.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just booking. It has more so to do with just booking than it is anything else. Trying to keep the Wyatt Six as, like, you know, a special attraction.
Yeah.
I would rather see Omos on television more so than the Wyatt Six anyway. Come in, you know, choke slam somebody, go home. The Wyatt Six, I'm not the demographic for that. So, you know, take the championships off of them, put them on MFTs, and let's go.
Yeah, we need to start having them be on TV more. I mean, the Wyatt Six, like you said, they're an attraction. It's, you know, they came out the gate strong when they premiered, you know, the whole faction and everything, and it was gruesome. It was awesome, but now it's kind of watered down, kind of run its course, and, you know, much like a lot of the factions that come along over the last forever, you know, eventually they run their course, and you're kind of like, I'm kind of over this now. You know, I want them to go back to brutal tag team division matches, and we, you know, when they're holding those, we're not getting that. So, I mean, honestly, the Usos defended their titles more than with holding both titles.
Yeah,
the Wyatt Six have had with their 1 titles. So, be what it be.
Yep.
And so currently for the season 2 premiere of Raw on Netflix, we only have 2 confirmed matches. Obviously, it's the big premiere, so obviously we're going to see the big guns out. That is just the reality of it. We basically have CM Punk versus Braun Breaker as of now. And I think that's honestly it. Well, I guess the women's tag match, I believe. But yeah, we got a lot of time to kill before we get, you know, because really, you know, we're 5 episodes away, which is, you know, basically the week before the Royal Rumble, which is kind of a fitting way to start season 5. So, but we will put a pin in this. But it is the holidays, so whatever you celebrate, happy holidays, and I wish you all the best. And so, yeah. So this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.